Good morning, everyone. It is Dave, and look, Bo is here too, and we're going to walk through the garden this morning. It is a very sunny day here in Southern California, and it is a total change from our past week. We had basically a whole week of rain, and this is only like the second day of sun. It was sunny yesterday for the first time in about 10 days, so it was very strange, but the weather is improving and it looks like we're probably gonna hit 68 today, so that's not too bad. You can see that the rain did damage a lot of the blooms that were just coming out on this peach and nectarine, and Bo was upset about that as well, but you know, it is what it is. We had the rain that we needed though. So we've got some buds already on this climbing rose. Again, this is Cecile Brunner, and this is a very old-timey rose, small dime-sized flowers on it. We've got the scilla bulbs as well coming up, and they're almost ready to flower, and these will really make quite the showing in the garden, and I'll show you some underneath the plum tree as well. I've completed a whole bunch more work over on this side out in the mud. Luckily I put down the mulch so it protected me a little bit. Planted the first tomato of the season. I decided to go with a Roma tomato for the first one. I also got one more the other day, and I think that one was one of the best tasting. It's called a Japanese black trifle. It is in the heirloom selection of tomatoes at nurseries, but I had it a couple years ago. It's almost like a pear-shaped tomato, but it is very dark. It's probably 6 ounces in terms of weight, and it is definitely incredible tasting. I moved the irises that were here back around that thuya, that arborvitae back there in the corner, because I kind of did that on the far side and I thought it looked pretty good. Kind of got them out of the way and in an area where it's difficult for a lot of plants to grow. All the roses are looking really nice, and this one here is a new planting. This is Princess Caroline de Monaco. So super excited about this bloom, and planted a couple of those dwarf conifers that I got, dwarf hinoki cypresses and fernleaf cypresses. Also did some of the lamb's ears. Look at the scaviola. And the English daisy also is doing really, really well and survived the rain. Because I'll tell you, most of the week there was flooding out in this area, and it was just amazing. We've gotten close to, in fact, I'm sure we've surpassed now 30 inches of rain for my particular area. I'm a little bit up against the foothills rather than being in Los Angeles proper. LA still has gotten like 24, 25 inches, and that's about double what we normally get for the average. We have some delphiniums that are looking really good, and look at the buds already on the gold medal. We've got some leaves finally emerging from the crabapple. And also the Dianthus I just planted about a week ago, maybe 2 weeks ago. The Santolina. And look at all those blooms coming up on that scilla. There must be at least 20 blooms, and they'll be open within the next week. So I'll be able to share those with you next weekend. Hollyhocks looking really well. Oh, we also have some color on the first Queen Elizabeth bloom. And this is one of the original plantings that I did back in the 90s. And I always love the new growth on the Queen Elizabeth. It's always dark and shiny. She's a very disease-resistant rose. One of the taller roses as well. She is classified as a grandiflora. Over here we've got the apricot tree leafing out. We've got the foxglove behind. Just a few more blooms on the iris nata. And I'm going to probably start replacing some of these violas that are pretty much spent. Not quite sure what I'm going to put underneath the tree or the rose bushes yet. I did also want to show you, because I didn't mention it, underneath the apple tree, that is a bacopa, and that is a fuchsia back in here. That is an upright fuchsia. I'm hoping she's going to have enough shade. Not quite sure. That's why I only did one. I was looking for the variety Gartenmeister, which is more of a sun-tolerant variety, but it's either not out or no one has ordered it. So I may add one or two of those in. That's probably my favorite fuchsia. It's much hardier than all the others. This variety is Voodoo. And another look at Beau there, just relaxing. Once again, the rose arbor filling out really nicely. And also outside here, I haven't seen any leaves yet from the peony. This came up last year in this area, which is why I have the cage around it. And then, of course, what is coming up is a seedling of Dianthus. This is Dianthus as well, and it has a beautiful bloom on it as well. It's a very prolific bloomer. Got some leaves coming out on the dogwood. I'm hoping it'll bloom. We'll see. It's been cold enough. Look at the blooms from the pink jasmine trailing down. I moved some of the plants I need to plant here. And then we've got a really nice leafing out of the pomegranate. The Helleborus back there. Not Helleborus, I'm sorry. Heliotrope. And also check this out. I was worried this was not going to come back, but it is leafing out finally. Very excited. So that'll be an osteo, very similar to the purple one there, but it'll be yellow. Look at how full that variegated Alstroemeria has gotten. I've got a leaning fence. I just need to put in another 4x4 there and get that support out of there. Now this is always a late leafing out Japanese maple, but we can see we do have a couple leaves coming out already. I remember one year it didn't leaf out until like the end of April, 1st of May, and I was really concerned it had died, but it's also the first one to go dormant. This is a rose called Crimson Bouquet. It is a floribunda. I have it as a tree form, and it's just one of those roses that always seems to be in bloom, very similar to Trumpeter, but a little bit lower growing and wider growing. More osteos down there. And just a few of these left. And I'll leave those up for a little while before they get pruned back. Look at all the blooms on the lavender. I'm continuing to work on this border now, give us a little bed around the patio. And the Iceland poppies also really got damaged in the rainstorm, as well as the pink breath of heaven. This tree is looking really well. And again, just kind of really airy this time of year before the leaves darken up. And I did do some purchasing this week I was going to share with you. We've got a few more packs of Iceland poppies for around the patio. We've got one of the Paludosum daisies. Actually, I'm not sure if that's Paludosum or not anymore. It is. Paludosum daisies are going to be around in the rose garden, kind of tucked underneath some roses. I've got some white Scaviola to put in next to the others, and I've got some lavender. I'm going to do a block of 3 around or in between some of the rose bushes. For closer to the bricks, I've got some Erodium, which is kind of an old-timey plant, but it is something I've kind of wanted to put in. Some more Delphiniums to balance out the other side of the rose beds from the original planting of Delphiniums. So you can look to the left and the right and see them. This is Corsican mint. This is the first batch of the year. It does go dormant every single year, and it has a really wonderful scent, much different than the other types of mint. I really like it because my first full-time job at Bamiko Nursery, we had this growing almost like a weed around some of the wood supports for the tables that all the plants were on. And so this just brings me back to working at that nursery. I did get a golden dwarf Hinoki cypress as well. Not sure where I'm going to put that in. I've got a Dunes Valley variegated thyme and also a stone crop sedum. Again, something near for the bricks, so it looks like the bricks have been more there for a longer period of time rather than just put in. So that is the garden tour for this week. I will see you all next Saturday.